All right, guys, it is 5 p.m. Eastern, and my allergies are pretty bad today. Um, and it's time for another dump filled right before I stream episode. So, this is episode number 8, and thanks for joining us, those who are here now and those who are watching it in the future. I hope that the future is good. We're going to do a little differently this time. Normally I start with news. I'm just going to mix it up. And we're going to start with Bitcoin today, instead of starting with news. Real quick before, just super quick stuff. One, my shirt came. Super happy about it. I think it looks awesome. Very excited. You can get one at tomcrown.live. And the other really cool thing I wanted to share, and it'll only take a second, is Prime XBT tweeted about our channel, which is freaking huge, man. These guys are awesome. Really a class act in crypto. That's my own opinion, not paid for saying that. Every issue they've dealt with just really well. So if you want to check that out, I retweeted it. But it's awesome to be just recognized by anybody in this space, so that's cool. That's it. So let's get into the Bitcoins. Of course, right before I go to stream, as always, we have a bunch of new sell-off and new price action. I swear, whatever whales are watching this, you make this job hard. You're always giving me mix-ups, man. What is this? 8 hours before I stream, you're just gonna break support. You're gonna make a lower low. Thanks. So thanks for that. But so let's get to the action. This has been some crazy price action. I think Coinbase is a little telling here. They hit the lower low earlier. What's interesting though is that we didn't see this across exchanges, which made this price action, I would say, even a little more unpredictable. That's arguable, but I think it was Coinbase had a lower low, and at that point, Bitstamp, Binance, Bybit, none of them had a lower low yet. Each of them pretty much taking turns made that lower low. That's unusual. That's unusual for, at least in my observation. Exchanges tend to vary in price, certainly, but the significant moves tend to happen at very close to the same time, if not at the same time, maybe at different price levels. So that's something to note. I'm not sure what to make of that, except that I think we might be able to say Coinbase seems to be leading. M Stone, shout out to M Stone. He has been saying for a long time Coinbase and Bitstamp, being the spot exchanges, are more important. Don't quote that, but essentially that's what he's saying, and we saw that happen. We saw it happen today. Coinbase hit a lower low. The other exchanges waited and followed. Oh, look at this! Look at this, right as I start streaming, get this red candle again. So, yep, it's been pretty crazy. Each exchange then took turns, breaking their own lower low, setting an even lower low. This is, we see a potential 1, 2, 3 bottom here, but I'm not getting my hopes up yet. The Fear and Greed Index, some of you probably noticed I popped that back on. I have taken it off for a while because it really was not giving us any useful information. Fear and Greed was sitting at 38 to 41 for, I want to say, a week. It was not responding to the sideways price action. And today we see ourselves at, I believe it's at a 12 now. It was like a 15 at its last calculation. So we are sitting here in extreme fear. I think everyone has probably seen that in the channel. There are people fearful. There are people saying Bitcoin's dead, saying it's a bear market. That is the Fear and Greed Index being reflected live in our community. So to me that means it's kind of accurate again. I think it was inaccurate for a while. maybe for the last week or so when I had it off, it just wasn't correlating to price in my mind. And this is the first big move we've had, so popped it back on. I think that's significant. I'm watching this 8:30 right now for myself here. I want to see if it's going to break this previous wick or not. And I'll make a disclaimer before I really start is, of course, I'm still bullish on Bitcoin. That's going to be really hard to change. I'm always going to be bullish on Bitcoin. As I've said in other episodes, that doesn't mean I think it's going up right now or I think it's going to be going up in 24 hours, but man, I just love Bitcoin. I believe in its future, and price going down isn't going to change that. So I just want to put that as a disclaimer. If people saw me short on the 24th, 2 days ago, being a Bitcoin bull doesn't mean that you can't trade short. It doesn't mean that it's never going to go down. Just long term, I don't see this project failing. So anyway, let's just get into it. I think today probably the best thing to talk about is going to be emotional trading and planning. They're the two things I think people talk about a lot, but I don't think get taken seriously. I think we all think in our heads, yeah, of course, I want to be in control of my emotions and I want to make a plan and stick to it, but I don't think it's actually taken as a serious note, if that makes sense to people. Sorry, my allergies are really bad today. Basically, welcome to the people who joined Bitcoin in 2019. This is Bitcoin, man. This is what everyone in here that's been around for a while, this is what we're used to, and this is really what we've been waiting for. We've had so much just nonsense sideways. Like, that's not Bitcoin in my mind. Honestly, maybe the last getting close to 3 months here. That's not the Bitcoin I know. Bitcoin is always throwing you in the other direction. You think it's going up, it's going down. It's moving more than 10% up or down on a regular basis. Volatility is high. That's Bitcoin. And yeah, I'll apologize. I'm sorry if anyone told you, holding or buying Bitcoin is easy or it's a get rich quick thing. It's certainly none of those things. Bitcoin, people who had Bitcoin at whatever dollar amount you want to say, let's say $100, if they still have it, it was not easy for them to still have it now. It went up to 20,000. Now it's down to, it went down to 3, now then up to 14. Now it's down to 7. Like, this is not easy, and this shouldn't be approached like something that's going to be easy. Whatever you're experiencing now, certainly that will be eclipsed. By the time you're done with Bitcoin, it's your emotions. You'll see a higher emotional peak than today. And today's pretty emotional. Like, I'll give it to you, man. Today's been a funky day. I really expected at least an upside to maybe 9 here, reject off that same trend and down, and that just wasn't in the cards. We dropped right off here. Just looked kind of just like a consolidation period, dropped again. A lower low, so at the moment we don't have anything on a short-term chart that is super encouraging, but we'll get into it. There are some things to be looking at here that I think if you remove the emotion, you might feel a little better about. This really is 100% an emotions game, and we can talk about it being a math game, and it is a math game, but the problem is that, I guess it's not a problem, but a math game and an emotion game are totally different, separate, and they really have no crossover. Unfortunately, it's very hard to treat it like a math game. So everyone's going to be involved in the emotion game, even me. For me, I have been selling small pieces from 12, I think was my first short. I was a little late. I'm a bull, so I lag on the sells. This price going down is good for me, but I'm still feeling it. I'm still feeling impacted by this on some level, and I'm sure some of you out there are feeling it much harder. That's how it is. I hate to be flat out like that, but it's going to be this way. So you need to learn to almost live in that feeling, because you're not going to get that euphoric up without making it through these downs. End of 2018 felt like shit. Like, it was not a good time. You know, everyone in my life was telling me I was retarded not retarded, that's not PC. That I was very dumb for buying Bitcoin at 3,000 or on the way down at 6,000, not selling it there. It's part of holding. There's going to be people. I actually stole this from Shalom, but part of this investment game is that people are going to, I want to say make fun of you, but they're going to put you down. They're going to tell you you're doing something wrong. You can't only ever make all the right decisions, but that is part of it, is your friends and your family are going to say, why are you in this? Bitcoin's been going down. It was at 20,000, blah, blah, blah. It's part of the return of when you win, is that so many people, like you guys are here in this community and we're talking all the time, and crazy ideas up and crazy ideas down are always being thrown around. You can't get to the crazy ideas up without sticking with it through the ideas down. So that, you know, that's an example of where we're at now. Is I'm sure people are saying, you're insane for not selling right now. Well, I mean, if you're going to sell, maybe you should have sold at 10. That's hindsight. But selling on red candles is, in my opinion, not a good idea. Buying on green candles, not a good idea. And in hindsight, it's really easy to look back and say, you're dumb, you made the wrong decision. But those people aren't here. Those people aren't making these decisions. Anyone can tell you, looking back at a chart, that something was the right or wrong decision in hindsight. But those people wouldn't be able to tell you now. Those people would have sold the minute Bitcoin started going up. You know, they say they magically entered at 3,000. They would have sold at 4,000. And they would say, you're crazy for not selling. Now we're up 30%, blah, blah. And they would have missed the 4K, the 5K, the 6K, the 7K, 8K, 9K, 10, that 14. And they would love to then look back and say, well, of course you should have sold at 14, but they would have sold at 4. You know, they're using their disconnection from it to maybe build their own ego, or I'm not sure. I really don't know why people strive to put each other down so much, but that's really the basis of that. So we're here at 8,000. Needless to say, that's not that close to 20. But there's people who bought at 20,000, 18,000, 17,000. My cousin bought at 17,000, despite me saying, buddy, you probably shouldn't buy here. Did anyway. You're up 100% plus on where my cousin entered a year ago. I don't think he sold either, because I told him not to. Maybe I shouldn't have, but he made his own decision. He has to just live with that. But this price, people have been waiting for since July, June. You know, people have, I want to buy at this price. And it's funny that 8,000 now is when I first heard, well, that's not, so 8,000 in May, June, whenever it hit there, I'm not going to look right now. That is when FOMO really started to happen, and when I started seeing new people come into the space. No new people were coming into the space at 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. I'm sure you guys have an example of an exception to that, but 7 to 8 is right around where I started seeing new people jump in, and we're back at that level now. So this is an important level, as I want to say this is close to the baseline of where FOMO started. So this is baseline of where FOMO started. So basically, we do have, as I was saying earlier, we do have some things here. I want to call them TA, but we have kind of some game theory, some, I want to say maybe logical, at least non-emotional things we have to observe here. So all of this time through July, September, whatever, people were calling for the gap to be filled. Fair. You know, they were correct. Now that we're here, they're correct. There's a possibility the gap wouldn't have been filled, but it was. And so they were aiming for 8.4. That was the bottom of the gap. 8.4. So we accomplished that, yesterday, the day before, and actually that looks to be the top of today's daily candle. So all of this here, let's just round it down to make it even. 40%. Everyone for 3 months-ish was saying 8.4, 8.4, 8.4. And like I'm saying, they're right. They were correct. We didn't know that at the time. We know now. Did those people buy at 8.4? Really? Did they buy at 8.4? They were talking about the gap. This is... The emotional game goes up and the emotional game goes down. It plays the exact same way in both directions. People are calling 8.4 for 3 months now. And I guarantee I'm not going to call anyone out personally. And I actually don't have anyone in mind really that I'm thinking of when I say this. This is just a truth about Bitcoin. Is we hit 8.4. I don't think that those people bought at 8.4. They saw it go down. They're scared. They saw it go down more. I did say if we fill this 8.4 gap, we're going lower. We're not going to hit it and bounce. Lots of people have an idea that they'll set a buy order at a price, and price will wick down, bounce up, and then go to the moon. That will never happen. That will never happen. So if that's the only way you can hold Bitcoin, is if you make that magical buy on a wick, and it never goes below it, like just Bitcoin's not for you. That's not gonna happen. That's why I do layering. That's why I slowly move in and out of positions. We can go into a little bit more of that later. But these people were calling for 8.4. We went down to 7.7. I want to go ahead and say they probably didn't buy at 7.7. Euphoria, as they say, goes both ways. We filled this gap we've been waiting for. We've accomplished at this point a 40% retrace. It's actually more than that. 44%. But 40%, I think I was saying 50% on the way up. Everything was bearish. Everyone was bearish at that time, so it was maybe a different realm, but 50% still in play. We accomplished a 40% retrace. We can look at that. This is usual. There's the only thing unusual, actually, about 2018 quarter 4 to today is that I keep saying 316. I hope that's right. It looks like 340. Well, at least a 300% increase. That is the only thing unusual about this bull run. Argue with me if it's not a bull run, whatever. That is unprecedented, that growth. In a typical bull run, I want to say 150 before a 40% retrace. We've gone 300% plus, whatever number you want to go. A 40% retrace, of course it didn't have to happen. But that's been pretty much the benchmark, 40%. And since we've gone up maybe double what a usual bull run starts with, and we don't have many examples, so I'm just speaking on the few we have, 40% retrace, it would now be unspeakable to see a deeper retrace. Maybe 50%. That when we get to downside targets, that's what I'll talk about. If we close this daily below the 200, I think my next target is probably a good place to look. But if we look at Bitcoin, I think this is just Coinbase, yep. So we don't have a huge history. But man, Bitcoin loves these 40%. Like you see here, 2015, we're starting off. Huge rally up. That looks massive, right? Well, that rally is only 152%. That's actually half. That's half as much as we rallied off of like the bottom touch up. If it were to equal what we have now, that would have been more of a $200 to $800 run. So we had 150% up. I'm gonna exclude a little bit of this. I can look at this too, though. Well, no, that's too perfect. I shouldn't exclude it. So from that 500 top touch, 40.92% down to 300. Rallies up again, 24%. All right, so let's take the next peak. The peak from 430 up to 780. You can see it's only an 80% increase. Like, these numbers are small compared to 2019. Take a guess what percent down we go. 38.25. These are, this is very typical. We can keep looking at this pretty much all the way up until it goes into you bought here and you got wrecked territory. I would argue this is buying the top. There's very little to no retrace after September of of 2017. But man, 40% down is just textbook. Like 37.5, 34. So we're in the realm of what is completely normal. And like I said, emotionally this impacts everybody. I didn't buy at 8,000. My cost average is much lower, but this doesn't feel good to me either. Emotions are really the strongest factor here, but it's just important to keep in mind that this 40% is very usual. Bitcoin likes to do this. I think it's called parabolic regression or something. And it has to do with percentages up versus percentages down. And this is really not insane. It looks really ugly. Like, this looks ugly. And I guess the issue would be, how do you argue that this is bullish looking in a TA stance? And you can't. From a strictly TA stance, like, you can't. But that would be the same as arguing anywhere here. Like, right here, let's say today is July 16th, 17. You're up at 3,000, and it drops to 1760. In this daily candle right here, how are you ever going to argue that's bullish from a TA stance? Like, you really can't. And that's why days like today are really hard, and they're really hard, especially to stream about and tell you guys, because we kind of are where we are. My most important message today is, like, really that fear and greed is very low. We're seeing a lot of fear. It's important not to give into that fear. It's important to stay logical. This is not something Bitcoin's never seen. This isn't some kind of new apocalypse move that no one's ever heard of, and like Bitcoin's going to zero. Like, Bitcoin's never going to go to zero. Knock on wood, not financial advice. It's never going to zero, guys. It doesn't make any sense. Going to zero makes no sense. That's just an emotional argument. Could Bitcoin go down a lot, more than we expected to? Yes. And possibly it could take a very long period of time to come back up in the worst case scenario. And what I'm saying is that we aren't in that worst case scenario yet. We're in a spot where TA is not looking great, but there are times in pretty much every bull run. I can throw a Bitstamp. There's only really 2, 3. These touches down below moving averages are not uncommon, and I think it's important to factor in we've moved up 300+%. We've never moved 300+% from what is a bottom, at least for now, and to our knowledge to this point, we've never had a move that large. It makes sense that we will have possibly a larger retrace back down. I wouldn't bet on it, as in I wasn't going to bet on it, from the beginning. Now that we're here, I think it's something we should keep in mind. Perhaps a 50% retrace could be in the cards. We moved up almost double what we usually move up on our first move. We really didn't have a lot of selling. There was a lot of confidence in the market at that point. So we're really just chilling at low 40s retrace territory, and this is not unheard of. 44%. This is not new. So that's like the main point of what I wanted to say today is we're not at a freak out level. It's definitely not a good thing to be under the 200 moving day average. I'm not going to argue that is somehow technical analysis says that's bullish, but it's more of an understanding or a knowledge of Bitcoin is this is really how it works. This is like everyone who started it in 2019. I want to say almost 99% of people who are new this year started at around 7 to 14,000. This is the range they know, and Bitcoin's bringing it right back down. I really want to say no one's ever bought Bitcoin and just seen it gone up. Everyone has seen it go below what they bought it for. It's a great argument for DCA up or down. Today I said in chat, I slowly shorted DCA style. I think 11.9 was my best. just pieces and pieces and pieces. I rebought my first piece today at 7.8. I can show you on Coinbase, and people want me to prove stuff sometimes, but that's I rebought like $100 or so. It's a small amount. I'm just going to keep doing that. If we go lower than 7.877, pick up another piece. I'm just going to leverage it, DCA back in the other way. The same way I kind of took profits and came out. I'm still 90% long. Probably if I'm rounding numbers here, but the same way I'm still long in my portfolio, but I took profits, and now that prices moved against me, I don't have to freak out because I have a bunch of profit that was taken that's sitting on Coinbase waiting to buy lower. If I want to say it was from this like small amount I bought today, if I take that from 11.9 where I first sold to 7.8, it's like 34%. It's like a great profit. If it were to fly back up right now, I guess you'd say I'm wrecked, but not really. I'm 90% long. But I wouldn't get to buy back in, and I have to be okay with that. That's the only way that you can really fight the, holy crap, it went down a little bit. It went down $10. I have to rebuy everything now. It's a reason I push percents, and I say stop thinking about Bitcoin in flat numbers. Think about it in percents. I said that last time. It's all about percents. Bitcoin going up or down $100 is actually, by definition of percents, a different percent up than it is down. Flat numbers, I'm not going to get into a whole math thing, but flat numbers are just not really how Bitcoin works. Bitcoin works in percents. If you sold at, the very bottom here at 7.7, and it goes up to 8,000, what is that? 10% 700. It's just like a few single-digit percent change. The flat numbers makes it seem like a lot, and people freak out. So that I really think that's where most people, because it's not just Bitcoin people, it's just humans. Humans have a terrible understanding of percentages. It really is just a fact. I've said that before. I'll say it again. We really are not good at percents. You ask someone to tip 20% on a restaurant bill or something, and they have to get their calculator out. Like, that's sad. Oh man. So yeah, let me get back on track here. Basically, to me, there's nothing over about this bull run. That doesn't mean it's not a possibility. Of course it is. No one knows the future, but there's nothing here that is different or new or mind-blowing or life-changing. Like, this is a sell-off. This is how it works. I think what it is the closer we get to a value that it would be unusual, the more fear we're going to have. So, really, if Bitcoin goes, if we go too low, and we're still far away from here, you can kind of just imagine a line here. You can imagine a line here. I don't know, if Bitcoin goes below 5,000, that'd be really bad. And maybe then we're back into a bear market. But we are very far away from that, despite, you can say it's only 3,000 away, and we dropped 7,000 already. That's thinking in flat numbers again, and that's going to get you. It's going to burn you. That's not how it works. Bitcoin, just because it dropped 7,000 from 14,000, doesn't mean it's going to drop from 7,000 to 0 in the same fashion. Those are totally different percentages. It's totally not the way any of this works. Just throw away the idea of flat numbers, get percentages in your mind, and hopefully that can help eliminate some of the emotional engagement that we all have. Like I said, even me, I still have it, and there's no reason. It's just part of being human. It's just part of what we do. So yeah, back on track. Gaps filled, 40% retracements done. I'm not seeing what I want to see. I'm happy volume's up. We're seeing actually multiple high volume 15-minute candles here in the last 2 days, 3 days. That's great. I'm not seeing what I would like to see. Unfortunately, Bitcoin doesn't do that. Bitcoin rarely ever shows us what we want to see. It shows us the opposite of what we want to see, gets us to do the wrong thing, wrecks us, and then moves on. That's its thing. What I want, ideally here, bounce off this 15-minute 50 moving average, bounce down, dump. My next target is 7,000, and there's multiple reasonings for that. This would be ideal. This isn't. I'm not saying this is going to happen. In fact, maybe I'm saying the opposite, because Bitcoin really never does what we want it to do. Let's go up to 8.3, smash down to the bottom of this channel at 7. There's a fib there. I don't know. I don't follow fib enough, but I did the fib earlier. There was a perfect fib line there at 7. Hit 7 and just capitulate, smash back up. Let's go to the top of this yellow trend again to 9. Like this would wreck everybody. Like I said, ideal. Probably not going to happen. But what we'd really like to see is very long red candle down, followed by an even longer green candle up. That would be capitulation. I'm just drawing lines here so you can see, basically. Very high volume. This is an undeniable signal to the market that price has reversed. I'm not sure we're going to get it. For instance, we saw it in 2018 early. From 20, we saw it down to 6, I think, something, or 5. It was like the low for a long time. We saw a huge capitulation candle. It went up to 11,000, and then what? We had a year of selling and nothing. So maybe that isn't what we want. This would be the obvious great move to signal to everybody it's time to go up. But, we haven't seen a move like that in a long time. So what's totally possible is we just get a higher volume, floaty, wiggly line that floats up and eventually, overtakes this yellow trend, because we are in the middle of the channel again. We haven't been there in a long time, since August 29th. It is a possible place for reversal. I think that it might be statistically more likely to hit the bottom first. But like I said, what I want and what I would like to see and what's ideal is just really never what we get. Look at that. That's pretty fancy. Hit this magnet. I'm thinking 8.3 is still in the cards either way. But I think there is a strong pull down to this 7,000. It's to complete the bottom touch of the channel again. Actually, we haven't hit the last time we hit the bottom of this channel was actually very early. Back here in July. July 2nd, July 17th, and then prices really kept away from the bottom of this channel. We had 2 bounces off the middle of the channel. Lots of time at the top of the channel. This just wrecked everybody, I'm sure. There's the big magnet. So it wouldn't surprise me, but it's not guaranteed, and I wish really I had... I wish I could place a magnet and have the price go for you guys there. I wish I could, but this is one of those times where we're near the middle of the channel, and it's kind of just the compass is spinning, and wherever it points north is where it's going to point, and we're going to have to watch it go there. Let me see. I didn't miss anything on my notes. I totally dropped my notes, but I think I've covered most of it. Emotional control. Gap fill. Yeah. Okay. This 8,300 target for the upside of what I have is really just the 200 moving day average. We pierced it, wicked out of it, dropped below it. Pretty typical of Bitcoin to then at least go back, test this 200 if it wants to sell off. It wants to destroy new shorts that were made, so it can then push down lower without the resistance of shorts being rebought as they close. I think this is a very high percent chance that we reach here, even if we were going to go lower. I would say if we can make it above this 115 moving average, we probably have more upside to the 200. Probably at that time would be the top of the channel. All is not lost, for sure. All is definitely not lost. An important thing I've written here that I forgot is, so upside, bulls really want to close this weekly above 8,400. There's a lot of time left. I believe today's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We have 3 days. We have 72 hours. We're at 8K. Right now, everyone, it looks like it's going down more. People say it's going down more. It's really not that huge of a move to close above that. We want to close above the 200 moving day average. In one of the videos a while ago, I said when we fall below the 100-day moving average, which we are. I said, these moving averages aren't special. They're not magic. But when we fall below the 100, the next logical target is the 200. Here we are. That's not wizardry. I promise you, it's not wizardry. It's not whale knowledge. It's just logical. Bulls failed to hold the 100, so it's testing a 200. Look at what happened when we fell below the 100 on... This is 30 minute, yep. So we fell below the 100 before. We had something actually pretty similar looking to what we have now. A lower low, or a low with a wick, a little bounce, and then a lower low, bounce, 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 really tiny bounces, and then all of a sudden smashes back up above it. That would not surprise me in any way to see a very similar repeat of price action here. Pop right back up above the 200, and maybe we continue to sell off and go down lower. I don't know, but this would not be unusual. This is a really great way to mix up margin positions, kind of knock everybody out up and down. I would keep an eye on that. I actually just noticed this right now, but that looks pretty darn similar. Maybe that's me. A little sideways dump, lower low, bouncy. We'll see. We'll definitely see. I don't think there's too much. Yeah, covered that. Yep. Basically, TA is just not going to give you an answer here. If you want definitive information, certain things, like really what I would say is 717 was our low right now. If you feel like you need to put a stop loss, that might not be a terrible stop loss. If we're going to go lower, we're going to have to go lower than the current low. And that's 7717-ish on Coinbase. So yeah, basically there's not a lot to say. It's a wait and see. And I hate to say that. So that wraps up pretty much all I have to say about Bitcoin, which is way more than I thought I had to say. Whew. But so we'll get to, I'll read the chat here in a few minutes. I'm going to cover just the news basically from last week, just updating. So last week we talked about the Fed printing, and I was excited and bullish on that. I still am. I'm not going to be fooled by Bitcoin selling off here while the US dollar is inflating and printing. I'm not going to be fooled by that. There's no way that the dollar printing is going to weaken Bitcoin, period, in my mind, anyway. So I think it was Thursday last week, they had printed 3 days in a row. I think I speculated that they were going to print the next day. That wasn't announced yet. Of course they did. And I believe they committed to printing upwards of $100 billion a day from then. So it's been a few days, it's been a week. It's at $700 billion probably in that time. Committed to $100 billion daily till October 11th, something like that. In the last video I said that I think that was going to be the news that we should look out for. The important market news is if they continue printing, and it looks like they didn't just continue printing, they committed to continue printing. So now my eyes are focused on October 11th. I think it is 11th, 10th, whatever, close enough. What happens when they don't stop printing? 12th comes around, they're still printing. How long does it take before this is called quantitative easing? It's printing money to buy government-backed bonds or real estate, equities, whatever. It's the same thing. You're just increasing the dollar supply at the rate of $100 billion a day. That is a metric ton of money. Actually, I bet that $1 billion $1 bills does weigh a ton, so it's a ton of money. I think the only thing else I really talked about was Backed. I thought Backed was going to be a non-factor. I still do. We have this sell-off very timely with Backed. Backed doesn't have the volume. Backed is not the reason that we dropped from 10,000 to 7,700. They don't have the volume to do it. I really think it is a non-factor. I think that to me is, yeah, of course I would say this, but to me it's a bullish argument that that's FUD. You know, it's lined up selling to a big event that everyone's aware of. It's not back throwing the market. 100-something Bitcoin isn't going to sell us off 20+%. That's just not reality. Backed is not the cause of this. The timing is undisputable, very similar, but it's just not. It's not the cause. It's just coincidence or whatever. So anyway, I believe that's it. Basically wrapping it up. I honestly wish I could tell you guys where it was going, what I was gonna do. Do not know, but we have some price points to look for. I do have a magnet up here at 9-ish. So if we close, how long do we have on this daily? 2 hours, 15 minutes ish. If we close above this 200, that'd be a great argument for closer to this 200 or up to this trend line, or 9K. That would be my upside target for now. Would be about 9,000. It would be weird to me. The only scenario I see it not rising to 9,000, even if it was going to sell off more, was if we get one more leg down and that is it, and that is the apex. This selling has absolutely accelerated. You know, there's a lot of sideways, lots of slow nothing, and now we've seen 2 legs down in the matter of 2 days. Like, this is acceleration. You see this on the way up as well. You know, pumps will accelerate both in maybe percentages and in time frame will shorten. That just leads to exhaustion either way. So I would be surprised. In fact, it might be more bearish if we hit 9, in my opinion, and then go down. It might even be more ideal to just go down, because that will really throw our size like really low in all time frames. Daily's already oversold. The 9,000 really comes from RSI saying we're going to bounce. I don't love RSI, but it is right. It is right eventually. When it's oversold or overbought, it usually goes the other way. Definitely not right away, but in time. So anyway, let's keep saying so anyway, and let's read the chat. See what's up. Possible they print some money into Bitcoin. Doubt it. That'd be dope, but I doubt it. Bob Marley, you're the man. Shout out for you. I'm just scrolling down randomly. Sorry if I missed everybody's comments. Counterfeit 700 billion. There's no such thing as counterfeit dollars, man. All the dollars are they're all just imagined. They're all equally real. Like, they're not. None of them are more real than the others. There's only. You can definitely not quote me here, but feel free to correct me. $1.5 trillion bills, or something like that in currency, and there's quadrillion dollars of value in the world. They're all just imagined. They're all. Almost every dollar in the world is just like in imagination or on a computer. No Lambos, not yet. Not Lambos yet. Shalom. Oh, there's a good comment there. CME futures settle tomorrow. Surprising. Surprising that CME futures settle right as the sell-off intensifies. I'd like to know the exact time that they settle tomorrow, because I would be looking for volatility at that time. Certainly. I think as soon as they settle, especially as we're dumping into it, prime time to reverse, or prime time to like really get the last leg down. Let's see. Feds will pump 100 billion to Bitcoin. That'd be dope. Please don't go down. Yeah, that'd be great, but just how Bitcoin is, man. Pro traders certainly do not only short Bitcoin. Nope. People do not use hot candles anymore. Yeah, hot candles just aren't really my favorite. I feel like they're really lagging. I think that hot candles would be great for someone who isn't really into TA. I think that would really help them settle down emotions and like flip-flopping back and forth, bull bear, bull bear, bull bear. Hot candles really smooth out price action. So I really haven't seen a great use for them. I do like to flip to them kind of when I'm feeling lost at times, but I don't chart by them. I don't really, because a hot candle can flip green and red just like a regular candle. It's only until hindsight that we see that they're showing a trend. This thing is still going down. Yeah, it's totally possible, man. This magnet's hungry. This magnet at 7's hungry. I haven't seen the response yet. I'm waiting for... We have a bullish engulfing here on... I think this is 30-minute now, but... I mean, really, this isn't the response I wanted. It's not what I'm waiting for. So that's why, why there's totally more possibility of down. The hourly, or 2 hourly, looks... Yeah, that argues a little more bullish. But that's just cherry picking at this point. I am out of a short. Everybody saw my short the other day. Right here, skis. Talked about it in chat long before price went down. Closed, I think it was opened at about 10. Closed at 8.4. Took profit. That was done. I think that was a great trade. Sure, I could have held it. I would be up more now, but... Yeah, when I play with margin, that's not... I'm not looking to keep them open indefinitely. I'm looking highest change in shortest amount of time. I'm not looking to, like, keep them open forever. And, like, I'll never really have a margin long open waiting for the moon. I'm just going to take profit and move on. Vitaly, thanks for joining us, brother. Vitaly says 755 local bottom. 755. Right here. Sure. I don't know. Honestly, I think anyone's guess is as good as anyone's at this point. Oops. It's doesn't look like it's ready to reverse. We're not seeing like a super strong reversal pattern, at least not an obvious one. That's why I'm not yelling from the rooftops, everyone buy now, which I'd never do because I don't give financial advice. But yeah, I think there's absolutely opportunity for more downside. I think if we make it, I think I said that earlier, but above the middle of this trend here, I think we're going to revisit this area. But there's absolute potential down here. This magnet is bigger than these guys. I painted that out earlier for people. Seeing some kind of bounce up to here, come to the bottom of the trend, back up. We'll see. Time will tell. If I knew for sure, man, I'd be a millionaire, and I wouldn't be streaming right now because I'd be flying to Vegas. So, yes, I will agree with that 100%. Bitcoin does what you least expect. I've been talking about that recently. What is it? The rule of the obvious. The more obvious something is in Bitcoin, the less likely it is to work. So in that sense, I mean, it doesn't obviously look like it's going up. Maybe it's going up. I'm not ballsy enough really to bet on that yet. Certainly not to go all in or something. Alright, well I think this has been a pretty good episode. I think I'm going to stop the recording and we can probably do some chill time or something. I'm going to stop the recording. So thanks for joining us, everybody. I love you guys. Love you, Crypto Fam. I love the shirt. I'm so happy it came. It wasn't supposed to come till tomorrow, but it was a miracle. Miracle it came. Got to wear it. So I hope that everybody has a great rest of the day. Moving into Friday this weekend. Has a great weekend. Have a lot of fun. Try to forget about Bitcoin if you're stressing. Take a break. Forget who said it earlier. Go to the gym. That really is a real tip. go to the gym, do something active, get your mind off of it, get some of that stress out. Come back tired. And when you're tired, if you're still freaking out, I think that's a better metric. You're exhausted. If you're still really afraid of what's going on, then at least you've filtered out some of the emotional noise. So, great way to end it. Keep our emotions in check. Trade mathematically. Don't trade emotionally. And everything will be fine. Love you guys. See you next time.